Things are good. Bitch, I do rich shit. You ain't on some simp shit. Hey. Walk with a limp. I'm on some pimp shit. Yay.
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 You found a whole new side of yourself.
I've really found myself in this quarantine. All right, well, I'm Kat.
I'm Hayley.
And this is Night Classy, a podcast where two teachers unwind, sip wine, and discuss the topics they wish they could teach at school. What are we drinking?
We are drinking...
it's all the way down here. Yeah.
It's very far away. Right now, as you know, well, maybe you don't know, we're in the midst of the quarantine for the coronavirus outbreak. So we have our at-home studio all set up. So if we sound different, that's why. But what we're drinking is Yellowtail Cabernet Sauvignon. It is 2019. So not that old, but it's still very good.
Young and cute.
Young and cute, still perky. Crafted by the Casella family in Australia. Or Cassia is I don't know. Cassia, Cassia, Casamos, Cassia.
Say it with an Australian accent.
2019, crafted by the Cassia family in Australia.
Mate.
Stay inside during the quarantine.
Please do. Anyway, and it's the big guy. It's a big bottle.
Yeah, we're gonna finish it tonight.
Oh yeah, we are. We have nothing else to do. Anyway, do we have any updates? I guess there's a big update where we are right now.
Yeah. I mean, we're at home.
Yeah.
This is gonna come out right now. The date that we're recording this is Friday, March 27th. So it'll be a couple weeks until this comes out. We don't really know what the situation is gonna look like across the US, across the world for the coronavirus. Things really are getting real and more serious.
Yeah. It's kind of scary, but we're trying to do our part by staying inside. So we moved the studio to our stairwell.
We have blankets nailed to the wall, so hopefully the audio is still okay. Alec has all of his equipment set up, and we're staying inside. We're quarantining. We're doing our part to flatten the curve. Hopefully you have too by the time you hear this.
Yeah, so I'm going to move on. A few of you have reached out to me on Instagram just to comment on the show, and I just want to tell you we love that. We really want to communicate with you guys. So if you're listening and you haven't followed us on Instagram or Twitter yet, please do. Our handle is Night Classy for both. Reach out with questions, comments, or if you just want to say hi, we really want to hear from you, or episode suggestions. That would be great. We're not quite running low yet, but if you have something awesome, we would love to hear it. You can also message us at nightclassypod@gmail.com. And we also have a Facebook page. It doesn't have a lot of activity. I'm hoping that eventually it'll be a place where listeners can communicate with each other. So I haven't been posting on it a whole lot, but feel free to join. And I have one more tidbit. I want to shout out our friends at the Tales We Tell podcast. Their podcast is awesome. In each episode, they tell a story about an unsolved mystery or like local lore, other spooky things like that. They've just been super kind to us, and their podcast is seriously awesome. So please give them a listen. Their stories are so well researched, way well researched than at least mine. I don't know how hard Hayley researches, but
it depends on the story.
Yeah, it depends. So please find them. They're on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, probably more. Find them on Instagram, and they'll have all their information there. And anyway, do you have anything to add?
I don't think so. We've just been hanging out, not any big updates.
It's been so weird, you guys. I'm sure you guys can relate, but yeah, we've just been in the house, sleeping and breathing Night Classy. Our school district hasn't done online school at all, so we've
right, we're just kind of hanging out. I'm so grateful for the companies like ABC Mouse, and I don't know about like your grade levels, but just putting out content that's free for a month or however long. They'll probably extend it just depending on how everything goes, but so students can continue learning and keep their momentum. So that's been great. I know a lot of other places have implemented online schooling. We're not there yet.
Not there quite yet. Our district it's hard to do online school because not everyone has access to Wi-Fi, which is a huge problem. I've seen on Facebook that there's like a service offering free Wi-Fi to families. I should have put it in my notes.
Spectrum is doing free Wi-Fi if you don't already subscribe to them. I don't know how it's working, but I did see that for Spectrum.
Okay, well, there are services that we we'll try to show on Instagram maybe in the future. Yeah, so we decided to save time with the breathalyzer from now on. So we breathalyzed before the show. I blew a 0.07.
And I'm at 0.05.
So I'm going to start.
Finally, you're number one.
I am number one. Anyway, so I didn't know what I was going to do this week. And luckily, my cousin Amara, shout out Amara, texted me with an episode topic. And so basically what she texted me was that she heard this idea floating around that basically there's alpha and beta uteruses. Have you heard of this?
Yes.
Yeah. And this like goes along basically with this theory that women's menstrual cycles can sync up if they spend a lot of time together. Mm-hmm. And that like whoever's uterus like syncs up to whoever's uterus like depends on if they have an alpha or a beta uterus.
I thought that I had a beta uterus and you had an alpha one because I started at a time that I usually don't start. And I asked you, I was like, are you on your period this week? Did I sync up to you after like months of living with you?
And I told you no, because I know that syncing up is a myth. And
yeah, you shut it down quick.
I shut it down quick because that's what I had heard and what I believed. And so going back to this theory, it doesn't exactly say like what makes an alpha or a beta uterus. The theory says that like maybe the alpha is more fertile, or that the woman who has an alpha has like a dominant personality, like a CEO type. And this is fascinating, but like I said, the one big problem with it is that it's not real. And so I just decided to double check myself. So I did some research, and it's a lot more complicated than I actually thought. And I'm going to talk about it today and talk about the science behind it and what started this theory. And yeah, and so
very cool, because I didn't say anything when you like shut it down, because I also didn't know. I just heard it and I was like, yeah, I mean, that seems like a cool thing, that maybe it's real, maybe it's not. I'm not gonna question it for some reason, but I'm excited to learn about it.
Well, yeah. So what I found in my research is just I want to go back. It is fake, most likely. But according to Wikipedia, this syncing up theory is called menstrual synchrony, and it's also called the McClintock effect. And it is the alleged process whereby women who begin living together in close proximity experience their menstrual cycle onsets becoming more synchronized together in time than previously living apart. So the origin of this theory goes back to this woman, Martha McClintock. And she is a psychologist who originally published the study on menstrual synchrony. Oh my God. I knew I was going to stumble on this word when I wrote these notes, and I practiced and I still can't do it. Synchrony. Okay. It's not even a hard word.
I thought it was going to be like synchronization.
That's, I think, what I keep wanting to say, but it's synchrony.
This is going to turn into like something completely different. It's like when you play telephone and you have a word and it goes through 10 people. Starts out synchrony, ends up
synchronity.
Synchronity. Tri-City.
Anyway, and she basically observed this phenomenon in a girls' dormitory at the Wellesley College in Massachusetts. And she wrote a whole paper, and in it she theorized that the cause of this synchrony was the pheromones and other and like basically you have pheromones and like other people's bodies can read them, and so you end up syncing up your menstrual cycles. And other theories have been proposed for this synchronization, like syncing up with the lunar phases, which to me that didn't really sound like it had anything to do with women's periods syncing up to each other, because if you're syncing up to the lunar phases, it doesn't really matter who
That's
you're
like a
living with.
mystical type perspective to take to it. To me, at least, it's like werewolves, and then also sometimes we as females sync up our menstrual cycles to the moon. So.
Right, yeah. Sometimes that happens. It is known.
I know this to be true.
But basically that has no basis in science is my next note.
That's like, can we talk about Tiger King? Can I relate it to Tiger King?
Why?
Please?
How? Okay, go ahead, try.
Because you know that guy with the long hair, not Joe Exotic, but the other guy in this Netflix documentary who has his doctorate in mystical science. We should have him on as a guest speaker speaking to this.
I never want to talk to him. What do you mean? He's going to hypnotize us into joining a sex cult.
We'll Skype him in. Zoom is the new thing. So we'll zoom in.
No. We don't have to talk to him. Anyway, he's disgusting. So going back to this, scientific studies have failed to produce any evidence. In a recent systematic review of menstrual synchrony, these scientists called Harris and Wittstrom concluded that, in quote, in the light of lack of empirical evidence for menstrual synchrony, it seems there should be more widespread doubt than acceptance of this hypothesis. So other studies tried to replicate McClintock's findings, and they have not found any. They've not been able to replicate.
So it's not valid.
It's probably not valid, but if it was, there's like one of the burning questions is, if this is real, how could this have evolved from an evolutionary perspective, and how could it be beneficial to reproduction? So I got a lot of this off Wikipedia, and basically in McClintock's proposal, she thought that this process is not adaptive. So adaptive would mean that it has an evolutionary component, some type of advantage, but rather it is epiphenomenal, which basically means there's no good reason for it. So that seems like a hint that maybe she's wrong. But other scientists have argued that, well, first of all, it's like very common in nature for like reproductive cycles to sync up, because like certain animals reproduce seasonally, like in the spring there's a lot of babies born. So this is a known thing. It's just like not really common in humans.
That's what I was thinking, like even going back to like maybe prehistoric times, but even then it wouldn't make sense for us to link up on the monthly basis. Like, you know, 9 months out everyone is on the same cycle, and then 9 months out you give birth, and maybe it's in the summertime, which is easier when you can produce food and people can work, and it's not like you're stocking up and saving for the winter. Like that would make sense. Like animals do it, but that's not,
and that makes sense. But people are can reproduce once a month.
Yeah, we don't do it that way.
It doesn't make sense, like what you were saying, like food resources, for it to be like the same time every month. Yeah, is kind of like where we go back to. But I think this theory is kind of born out of the truth that a lot of species have this reproductive synchronization in the springtime. But another hypothesis, or actually, so basically it seems like from my research, it seems like the major biological justification for this theory is that like basically leveling the playing field in terms of finding mates. So if there are a lot of ovulating females at one time, it makes it difficult for one alpha male to monopolize sex with all the females. So it basically makes it so more males have the chance at mating and increases variation in the gene pool. So that seemed like the thing that made the most sense.
That makes sense. But also at the same time, if you're the alpha male, then evolutionarily it would make sense to spread your seed over others.
Totally. And that could be one thing. That's kind of something I was thinking of, but also like in terms of like there being like
higher
different
chance of everything.
You want different genes so that there's a higher chance of everything, and also like fewer inbreeding. If you have like a village of people, or I don't know what you would call like way prehistoric, back when this probably developed, if it is a thing, but like a group of people, and then there'd be inbreeding if there was like one male who was dominating the gene pool.
Yeah, that's some like Game of Thrones type stuff.
Yeah, Game of Thrones type stuff. And then so there's this other hypothesis that's postulated by these scientists Van Arnstale and Tyler, and that is that menstrual synchronization allows for synchronized birthing, which would give validation to why this could happen like once a month. And basically it increases the availability of nutrition to infants. And the way this works is that if babies are born to a group of people at the same time, the baby whose mother has died or cannot produce milk can get nutrition from other nursing mothers. So it's a biological advantage to have like all the babies in the village or collection of people born at once so that like other mothers can help out.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, a bunch of babies around that's also a lot of work.
Yeah, a lot of work. And then also it seems like it would put a burden on the people in the village who aren't having babies. Like you have to bring in more food. And
if I just had a baby and then all my other friends had babies, I might be a little mad. I'd be like, listen, this was my time to shine and you decided to also have a baby. So
you posted your maternity pictures on the same day as I posted mine. It's not fair.
You clearly planned this. End it.
Please
just
end
kidding.
it. Just in general, end maternity photo shoots. God, please.
Yeah, I didn't mean that.
No one wants to see that. It's just for you and your partner to hang on the wall. Facebook does not need to know.
What's my favorite thing is like there's no in between. I feel like there are women who post their maternity pictures like all throughout and they update each month, each week. And then there are those girls, at least in my experience, who just like one day they just post a picture of their newborn and like there's nothing beforehand.
There truly is no in between. Like you've got the flower crowns and like the pregnant white dress. Or nothing.
Yep.
God, I hope
that's
I
true.
mean, do what you want. I'm not judging people, but it really seems like those are just for you and no one else cares.
I'm going to post a picture of my future children like at their college graduation. And that'll be the first one.
And the caption will be, this is really just for you. No one else cares.
Finally, you've made me proud.
Yeah. But yeah, we burned through this. So in any case, McClintock's original study consisted of a very small and homogeneous sample size of women. It was 135 female college students between 17 and 22 years old, and they were all living in the same place in Massachusetts in a dorm. It had methodological flaws, which other scientists pointed out after. And scientific evidence supporting her theory of menstrual synchrony has failed to be reproduced in numerous other studies. So we can be pretty safe to say that period syncing up is a myth, and therefore alpha and beta uteruses are also a myth.
Yeah, I would have to agree. The instance I was talking about turned out just to be a fluke, and I'm irregular. So there's that for all of our listeners.
And I don't know where this went in my notes, but I thought I had put something in there that basically like people thinking that syncing up, like it's basically like people have their periods like once every 28 days for an entire week a lot of times. And so like it makes sense that they would overlap, and then it just like sparks conversation where like, oh, you have your period, well, I have my period too. Because if you have them for 7 whole days very frequently, like they're gonna overlap with other people. And it works out that way. It's more common than you think.
There's some statistic, and I don't know exactly what it is, so this is going to be completely off, but like if you're in a room with 100 people, the odds of you having the same birthday, so out of 365 days, the odds of you having the same birthday as someone is really high. It's something like 60% or something, and I forget how it works.
Wait, 60% odds of having the same in a room of how many people?
100 people.
Wow.
Wait, let me look it up, because now I kind of want to know, because I learned that in my statistics class.
Is that because like certain birthdays are more common than others?
I don't know. I don't remember. I was like a sophomore when I took that class. Okay, in a room of just 23 people, there's a 50-50 chance of at least 2 people having the same birthday.
23?
In a room of 75, there's a 99% chance of at least 2 people matching.
Wow, there must be certain birthdays that are super common then.
Yeah, maybe that's a good topic for next episode.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
For sure. So I covered this whole theory pretty quickly. And in closing, I just have a BuzzFeed article that compiled a bunch of funny beliefs people had about periods.
Oh, nice.
And I'm just going to read them for you. So the first one I have, I'm going to read my favorites first. And then depending on how much time we've used, I'm going to go back and read more.
Okay.
The first one I have is, I'm going to read them in the first person as they're quoted. A girl I knew in college thought that your period stopped when you took a shower. So you didn't have to worry about drips on the long walk from the room down to the hallway to the communal bathroom. She learned
like
very
your
quickly.
Body just knows.
It knows you're about to take a shower. Like there's no tampon in.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
That's so
This
embarrassing.
is why we need sex education. Like I can't even call her dumb or stupid, which that is dumb and stupid, but she obviously was not taught. God, okay. We need sex education, thorough, accurate sex education.
God, yeah, for real. Oh my God. Okay, anyway.
That's a whole other thing.
Number 4, my mother once told me that you can't pet a puppy while on your period because the puppy could stop growing. Where does that even come from?
I'm so puzzled. I don't even have a guess. Like I want to come up with something funny and dumb, but I can't.
No, you just
I can't even get into that
your
mindset.
Your hormones like interfere with the puppy. I don't know. That's so stupid. Number 10, my older sister thought that you put a tampon between your labia like a hot dog bun.
Oh no.
Like you just tuck it in there like it's the hot dog.
Oh God. How do you keep it? You just like clench your labia?
Can you clench your labia?
I can't. Can you?
No.
I guess that's not how you put in a tampon.
Really? Wait. I've been doing this all wrong.
I wonder if now due to quarantine, a lot of colleges are releasing their classes for free. I wonder if there's a sex ed class that we could take to get educated.
Ooh, we should. Number 14, I had a boyfriend in high school who asked why I didn't just push it all out at once. When I looked at him confused, he told me it's just like pooping.
Yeah, he knows. It's just like pooping.
Yeah.
What if she looked at him and she's like, what is pooping?
What if she looked at him and just like clenched like to try it out and shit on the chair?
Like shaking. That's what she should have done. What's her Twitter handle? We'll message her.
We'll make some suggestions.
Next time this happens to you, here's exactly how to handle the situation. Just start shaking like you're going crazy. Pull your pants down and just...
I mean, that's what I would do.
And just do it. Just do what he says. Just make it happen.
Number 16. I had a math teacher who told us a great many things that were probably not true, including that women shouldn't eat ice or cold things on their period as it would cause their flow to get cold and be chunky. Ugh.
A teacher said that?
Apparently. I mean, they were a math teacher, not a science teacher, thankfully.
But still, they're an adult who probably, I would hope, got their bachelor's.
I know. It has to be a man, right?
Yeah.
Like, but I mean, grandmas say some crazy stuff about periods, I feel like.
Yeah, I'm still kind of caught on the whole if you're on your period, don't pet a puppy thing. Like, why would she even say that?
Right. I mean,
her?
Yeah. It's just, it doesn't.
We should each make up our own, like, just ridiculous beliefs at the end of this.
Yeah, we should.
Let's see how crazy we can get.
Yeah. I'm going to start thinking about it while I read the rest of these.
Okay.
Quote, there's this weird superstition in my country where mothers would have their daughters rub the very first period blood on their faces because it is believed that then you'd never get pimples. Which would be really nice.
Is that why I have pimples? I didn't do that.
God damn it, we forgot. We need to find a girl that just got her period.
Let's put an ad out on Craigslist.
Yeah. Ooh, gross. That's so disgusting.
We'll post a picture of ourselves so they know it's not weird. It's not some old wrist cell. Right.
Oh God. It's like even creepier that we would ask because we're teachers. That's really fucked up.
Man, it's been so long since I've taught. I forgot I was a teacher.
Oh God. Okay. So I went through all the ones that I really liked and I still have quite a bit of time. So I'm going to keep going.
Do it.
One time a boyfriend asked me to turn it off. I was confused, so he explained that he thought women were able to turn it off like a tap. I would have been more angry if he hadn't actually been so shocked when I explained to him that this is not the case. Imagine if you could just turn it off.
Why would you even turn it on? If you could turn it off, why would you turn it on?
I mean, maybe like it would like fill up and it would reach a point where you had to turn it on.
Yeah, and then you could just shit it out like a poop, right?
Right.
That's how it works. So you turn it on, you go to the bathroom, leave yourself, 5 minutes later, you're again.
I have some suggestions for whoever designed periods.
Oh, yeah. Well, we need to talk to Eve because it's all her fault for eating the apple.
Can you tell the story about what you're referencing?
Well, I was at one point friends with someone whose family was very religious, and I respect everyone's religious beliefs. I think it's great if you have a God and believe in something. But this person, her mom had just had a baby and her grandma was in the room, and like the mom was talking about how painful the birth was, and then it got on to periods and then all like the female ailments that we go through. And her grandma was like, oh, that darn Eve. She just had to go and eat the apple and she doomed us.
I love that story because it's just like such a cute grandma thing to say. That darn Eve.
I know.
It's my favorite.
I'm so glad you remembered that story. Like, I feel like I haven't told that in months.
How can you not remember that story? Anyway, number 3, a friend of mine who, despite being in his 30s and is very old school and superstitious, told me I couldn't hold his newborn baby if I was on my period because it'll give the baby cramps.
Okay, first of all, I'm disappointed. Second of all, I'm just picturing like when you touch a female who's on her period and she's experiencing cramps, do you get cramps? Where did this come from?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Everything is clear
right. Now it makes sense. Maybe that happened to him once and now he thinks that that's what happens.
Maybe he's stupid.
Or that. Probably that.
Maybe he's inbred.
Oh.
Not that inbreds are stupid. Maybe we should edit that out.
We don't want to offend any inbreds.
Okay, this is a total tangent, but you might think it's funny. When I used to work for the marketing company, we had like a chant that we did when like someone was up on stage giving their sales report for it, and it was the Kentucky Ohio division where champions are bred. And every time we'd like said they were like, we're champions are bred, I just pictured all of us like morphed into a loaf of bread.
I knew you were gonna fucking say that.
And I made a meme where I put like all of our like the main players' faces on a loaf of bread. Where champions are bred.
Champions are bred. Oh my God. So number 5, I knew a girl who was confused her period didn't stop after dabbing her vagina. Like her period was a vaginal wound or something.
Yeah, just sop it up.
Yeah, just dab, dab, dab.
Dab, don't like try and... What am I trying to say? Wipe.
You're doing a wipe motion.
I'm like, I was going to say swat. Don't swat. Do not swat at your vagina.
Please. Or at other people's vagina.
Yeah, be gentle.
Yes.
Whoever needs to hear that, listen up.
We hope you're paying attention. Anyway, quote, I once taught a PSHE. Do you know what that stands for?
PSHE?
No, I don't know.
Pussy shielding hemorrhage erraticus.
Erectile.
Right.
Anyway, I once taught at a PSHE lesson about periods to 11-year-old girls. A girl asked how you get a tampon back out, and a boy scornfully told her that obviously you use a pair of needle nose pliers. Ugh, can you imagine?
Obviously, yeah, and you just have to carry that around. The first time I ever used a tampon, my mom almost took me to the hospital because it got stuck and I couldn't get it out.
Oh, the first time.
The first time.
That's traumatizing.
It was.
How did you guys end up? And like just telling your mom it stuck up there must have been horrible.
My mom and I thankfully have a really, really close relationship. Good. So it was like as soon as I started freaking out, I told her, and it was a long thing. And so one of our family friends, he worked for the company that made it. P&G is based out of Cincinnati. So I think it was like Playtex, or I can't remember what it was. But my mom like messaged our family friend Russ, like this like 50-something-year-old guy. And she's like, the tampon is stuck.
Wait, I thought you were gonna say Russ is a doctor. He's just a guy.
He's just a guy. He's just a guy who works for P&G. Like he does computer text. And she's like, what should we do? And then it ended up being resolved, and I didn't go to the hospital. But he was like, just submit a complaint or something.
We're having technical difficulties.
Yes. He probably like gave her an email to send it to her or something. Like, here's the email.
God. Thanks, Russ.
Shout out to Russ.
Oh, this is one I missed that I highlighted. Quote, I know multiple men, my husband included, who thought that in order to wear a pad, women applied the sticky adhesive part to their body and not her underwear. And I highlighted this because I have an ex who thought the same thing. Hey, Eric.
You just like, you just like seal it up. You just like block it up.
Yeah, I don't know what.
It's like a diva cup.
I asked him what he was thinking, and he's like, I don't know. I haven't given it much thought. I'm like, well, the sticky part isn't absorbent, so I don't understand.
I feel like guys just have no idea or inkling of what we go through. Like it's so hard for them to imagine, and we can say it and we can talk about it, but it's something completely different to actually experience it, and they just have no idea.
But Alec just informed me that he also thought the sticky part stuck
I
to
knew
his
it.
skin.
The way he looked at you, the way he like looked at us, and he was like, "Oh!" It looked like he shit the bed. He was like, "Oh, that's not it."
Well, I appreciate your honesty, Alec. And I guess
how old are you?
29. He's 29 years old, on the verge of 30, and he still thought that you stick the sticky part to your body.
So for approximately 66% of your life, you've been around girls who have like had their periods just based on the average age of puberty, and just now you're informed.
Haley's doing math, guys.
That's right. I can do math.
Show guys you're doing that?
No, I don't show guys I'm doing it, but I feel like it's just common sense.
We need sex education, y'all. That's the moral of the story. We need education on all levels of everything.
Speaking of that, Hayley, did you have any misconceptions about periods when you were a little kid? I had a few.
I can't think of any like misconceptions. I remember having a realization of how like sex happened. Like no one told me. Like it was just like something that was like, oh, that's like how these two like pieces come together. Okay. But it was never, I don't think so. I don't think I had a misconception there. I remember the first time I got my period, it was like, oh, this is it. This is happening.
Yeah.
But I don't think I had any misconceptions.
No misconceptions.
They don't tell you that pads feel like you're wearing a diaper.
Yeah, they're really uncomfortable. A misconception I had was I didn't understand how tampon applicators worked. So when I used a tampon for the first time, I like took it out of the applicator and then just tried to shove it up.
Oh no.
And it felt horrible. It was like sticking out part way, like it kept falling out and like it felt like sandpaper. It was completely terrible, and I just thought that's how it was. And I think this lasted like a good maybe like few months. Like I remember sitting in like class in middle school, like crisscross applesauce on the carpet, and like
you're like,
hurting.
Man, it sucks to be a woman.
Yeah, Alec has his face buried in his hands.
You're like, that darn Eve, she just had to eat the apple.
That darn Eve. Anyway, I feel like this is a good place to leave off. Let's hear a quick word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
We drink a lot of wine here at Night Classy, but we appreciate alcohol in all forms.
So when we heard about Ethyl Ambrosia, a company that delivers gel shots to your door, we were here for it.
Ethyl Ambrosia is a female-owned and founded company that offers an elegant twist on the classic Jell-O shot.
Ethyl Ambrosia's recipe was formulated by one of the nation's top food scientists to be 100% vegan. So the shot's base is 3 kinds of seaweeds rather than gelatin. As a lifelong vegetarian, I have tried and failed so many times to make Jell-O shots. For me, they've always just never turned out right. They're always too runny or clumpy, but Ethyl Ambrosia has somehow nailed it. And even more, their seaweed base means that these shots don't melt until 130 degrees Fahrenheit, which makes them perfect for a trip to the pool or beach.
Now, I'm not vegan, but what got me hooked on these gel shots is their push-up cup. Like Dee Dee, Ethyl Ambrosia's founder, I'm a complete germaphobe and always have hated to stick my finger into the Jell-O shots to loosen the Jell-O. Ethyl Ambrosia's push-up cup allows you to push the gel out of the cup without ever having to use your fingers, and it just looks good.
We've tried the shots and we love them. Both of our favorite flavor is rosé, obviously, but they come in all kinds of other amazing flavors, including mojito, citrus punch, and Moscow Mule. Plus, they're 15% alcohol, so they are effective.
We love Ethyl Ambrosia, and we know you will too. So to order your own box of shots, head to ethylambrosia.com. It's ETHYLAMBROSIA.com and enter the promo code NIGHTCLASSY. All caps, no spaces, Night Classy at checkout for 15% off your order.
Hayley, has anyone ever been a total dick to you?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Well, good news. Now with Dicks by Mail, you can anonymously send them a box of candy dicks and politely tell them to eat one. Dicks by Mail sends dick-shaped candy anonymously to your friends, coworkers, grandma, whatever. Their products include gummy dicks, confetti dicks, and very realistic-looking chocolate dicks that come in both milk and white chocolate.
Oh my gosh, you know what? I can actually confirm they are very realistic-looking chocolate dicks. My best friend had one sent to her, and she was calling our whole friend group like, did you send this? Did you send this? She sent a picture in the group chat, like, and there are veins. Like, it is very realistic. I went over, ate some of her dick, you know, like best friends do. It's really quality chocolate too. And it's so fun, like the mystery of who it came from, and it's just such a funny product. It's great.
Right, it's meant to be a fun experience. Dicks by Mail was created to put a smile on people's faces. It's not meant to be a threat or a way to bully. If you're sending this with the intent to ruin someone's day, then maybe it's you who needs to eat a bag of dicks.
Probably. And if you want to eat a bag of dicks or put a smile on someone's face and a dick in their mouth, visit dicksbymail.com, dicksbymail.com, and enter the promo code NIGHTCLASSY, the name of this podcast, Night Classy, for 25% off of your first order. Go check it out now. All right, welcome back to Night Classy.
Welcome back.
Are we ready?
I'm a little scared. Haley told me this is a serious topic, so I'm trying to keep a straight face.
It is. It is serious.
We've been in the South too long.
I'm about to make grits tomorrow morning for breakfast, so that's how you know I'm a true Southerner now.
Southern now.
I'm slurring all my words. It's the Southern in me, not the wine. Anyway, so this is about a murder.
Ooh.
Yep. I think you'll like it, but it is serious. I first learned about this on Forensic Files, and it interested me. I'll tell you why later. Like, this one specifically piqued my interest.
Okay.
But this, it starts in 1981 in St. Paul, Minnesota. So a 6-year-old girl, Cassie Hansen, disappears from a church, Jehovah Evangelical Lutheran Church. So she was with her family this chilly November night. She's with her mother, Ellen, and her sister, Vanessa. Her father, Bill, had a prior commitment. So they had dinner together, and then the mother and the 2 daughters headed off to the church for their nightly session.
Yeah, why are they going to church at night?
It's just a thing people do.
Okay. If this is the story I'm thinking of, there was some kind of event at the church?
It's just a normal
Okay.
church thing. If you've seen all Forensic Files, you've definitely seen this.
Okay.
Yeah. So mother, 2 daughters go off to church that evening. Father's last memory he cites is his daughter Cassie waving kisses goodbye as they left for church. So they get to church. The 2 sisters went downstairs, Cassie and Vanessa, where they held Sunday school. And Cassie tells her mom she has to use the restroom. So the mom, Ellen, is like, yeah, go use the restroom. I'll see you in a minute. And so Cassie heads out to the restroom and never returns.
Oh my God.
So after a few minutes, her mother, Ellen, went out looking for her. She wasn't in the restroom. She went upstairs to look for Cassie. She started calling out her name. There was no answer. She proceeds to go outside shouting Cassie's name. But again, there's no one there. So obviously, you start to panic. Something's wrong. Ellen calls Bill, the father, to tell him that Cassie's missing, and they both know their child and know that she would not just walk away and leave. And there's that just instant sinking feeling like something is seriously wrong here. And like when I think of a church, it's like it seems like a really safe place. And so this is really scary. So they search the entire church. Cassie is not anywhere. The St. Paul police are called. Within an hour, Cassie's pictures are distributed to all media outlets. They search for Cassie throughout the whole night. So hundreds of people are showing up and helping in the search. People are going...
I'm sorry. You would think... So she probably got taken on her way to the bathroom in the building.
Mm-hmm.
You would think the police would just like close the building and be like, okay, who's missing? Who went with her and took her somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you would think that.
Okay, sorry, keep going.
So yeah, she's missing from this church and we don't know who's there, who was there, none of that. That's not really the approach. So hundreds of people show up helping in this search. People are going door to door. They're making phone calls. By the next morning, the police discover Cassie's body in a dumpster behind an auto shop, and it's about 3 miles from the church. An undercover cop was the first one on the scene. So once they got there, the crime scene, this is what it was like. So Cassie's leather shoes were found in a separate location, both in separate locations, both of them. And they were found a couple blocks from where her body was found, and neither of her shoes had buckles on them. The buckles were removed. Yeah, the metal buckles were removed from the leather shoes. And then, yeah, her body was found. The autopsy revealed several signs of sexual assault. They did find semen on her dress, but again, this was 1981. So DNA and forensic science was not where it's at today. They did find out that the person had type O blood, and they found some foreign hairs on her clothes as well.
And I'm sorry, how old was Cassie?
6 years old.
Oh my God. Okay.
Cause of death was strangulation with a 2.5-inch belt. There were abrasions on her chest. So investigators thought that it was used to restrain Cassie. Now, the chilling thing to me, like obviously all of this is chilling and terrible, but later on, witnesses... Oh, wait, I'm not to that part yet, but still, witnesses within the church report seeing a white male approximately 50 to 60 years old in the church that night around the restroom area.
Okay, like someone they didn't recognize.
Right. So they were like, oh, it was Bill around the restroom area, just like some guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only lead they had at that point in time. So the first step that the police take is that they hunt down all past sex offenders in the St. Paul area. They investigated and interviewed 107 suspects.
Wow.
Based on that search. So 57 of them lived or worked in the area where Cassie was abducted. And then after this interrogation of these 100 plus people, and then narrowing it down to like people who lived close, they did have a confession. So this woman from Texas, Blondell Quanley, she admitted to killing her, and she basically just recited all the details that were in the news.
Right, but there was semen on the dress.
Exactly. in her confession.
I mean, I'm not sure how women work, but I don't think that's part of it.
We don't know anything. We need sex education. So in her confession, she cited specifically that she worked alone. So they discovered that she just read the newspaper.
Wait.
Yeah.
Pull down your pants real quick.
Wait a minute. Do you have a pad on? So they were like, this is obviously not true. She just read the details from the newspaper and recited those. And, there's seminal fluid, and it was literally impossible. So a couple days go by, and then 2 other witnesses come out and state that they saw a white male carrying a motionless child to a dumpster behind an auto shop.
Oh my God, I just got chills. That's so gross and creepy.
Yeah, and this was days after this whole thing happened. And I don't understand why you wouldn't immediately be like, that guy's carrying a motionless body and putting it in a dumpster. Maybe they were stoned and they didn't want to get in trouble. I don't know. But it took days.
Did they see him putting it in the dumpster? Maybe they just saw him walking toward it.
Yeah.
Because kids fall asleep all the time. You could see someone carrying a kid and not think anything of it at first.
Yeah, but it was 7 to 8 p.m. when they saw this guy carrying a motionless child near a dumpster behind an auto shop that was closed.
Okay, that's so fucked up.
Okay, so they did not do something right when they saw it, but they did eventually come out and say, hey, we saw this. So the police contact the FBI, and they get in touch with the behavioral science unit in DC, and they want to do a behavioral report on this guy. So based on similar crimes, the FBI created a profile. And they said that this person is probably a white male. He has poor self-image. He has a history of sex offenses. He probably goes around parks where children play pretty often. He's nocturnal, so he stays up during the night. And they specifically said drives around at night. Not only is he nocturnal, but he drives around at night. Okay. So that's probably a whole other topic we could explore and get into is FBI profile and how it works.
That's a huge topic. We should do a multi-part double team on that.
Yeah, I think that would be really fun.
Yeah.
But that's all I have for here, for that part at least. And he also does not flee the area. So that it's very common for murderers and people who commit crimes to want to see the aftermath of what happens.
Part of the search party.
Yes. He feels justified in his actions. He keeps a souvenir from the crime, and he is completely obsessed with the murders and needs to talk about it.
Oh, it's so gross. Okay.
Yep. So that's what they have so far. They have a tip from this person at the church who saw some guy. They have a tip from 2 guys who saw a guy carrying a motionless child where she was found. And then after all this, another tip comes in from Dorothy Noga. She worked at a massage parlor in St. Paul, and she wanted to call in about one of her customers, Stuart Knowlton. So he was a taxi cab driver, and he had come in to see her the day after Cassie's murder. And, she's doing his thing. It's not like a sexual massage parlor or anything like that, but they did say that people often just feel very comfortable in these situations. And she said that people end up telling her a lot of their deepest secrets.
I could see that. You build a weird connection with your massage therapist.
Yeah.
Because it's so intimate.
And that's exactly what happened. So Knowlton asked Dorothy to lie for him. He was basically like, hey, if anyone asks, will you just tell them that I was here last night? I was at the massage parlor. So she agrees, but in the back of her mind, she's like, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. Okay, so she goes to the police with this, and they question Knowlton, and he denies everything. He says he was on duty, driving the taxi cab the night of the murder, and so he has an alibi. And at this point in time, 3 months had passed.
Wow.
Okay. Now, after Dorothy Noga, the masseuse, goes to the police, she offers to wear a wire to see if she can get Knowlton to confess anything or like get anything else, because she just really has this sinking feeling about him. But they reject her offer, stating that it's too dangerous. They don't want to get her in that deep.
That's fair.
Okay. Now, another woman, Janice Retman, also knows Knowlton, and she was the head of the public housing office. And she went to the police, citing that she had several complaints against him for sexual advances toward children. And she describes him as chilling.
Yeah.
She also offers to wear a wire, and the police accept that offer.
Why would they accept her offer and not the other woman?
I don't know. What's cool is that Dorothy takes it upon herself to wear a wire. Yeah. Even though the police did not accept it.
She does.
She does.
Oh my God, I love Dorothy.
So that's a little bit later on, just in like a couple paragraphs. But I'm going to start with Janice. So Janice, she's the one who's the head of the public housing office. She like knows Knowlton, and she meets with him, and she just casually brings up, she's like, hey, have you heard anything about this girl, Cassie Hansen? And he says yes. And then he says, yeah, have you heard Cassie had been beaten about the face? And this was a fact. She had been like physically beaten, but this was not released to the public. So that was a huge slip up in his place. It's the first like real solid breakthrough for the investigation, and she got it on tape. So they start to close in on Knowlton, and as they're doing so, like literally the day of, they're starting to follow him around, figure out where they're gonna get him. He's crossing the street and get hit by a car. Idiot. He's rushed to the hospital. His leg has to be amputated below the knee. Okay. So while that all is going on, they check his alibi, because he said he was driving that night. And as a taxi cab driver, you have to turn in your hours and all that stuff, your miles. He didn't turn in his logbook. And when they asked him about it, he just told them that it was stolen.
Yeah, because people steal logbooks.
Right, yeah. Why would you? So, as I told you before, Dorothy Noga took matters into her own hands. The police told her, no, it's too dangerous. We don't want you to get involved in this way. But she decides to call Knowlton on her own and records the whole conversation.
Wow.
Okay. So she kind of takes the same approach as Janice. She asked if he had been following Cassie Hansen's news reports. And this part, the confusing thing for me, which I haven't gotten a lot of clarity on in my research, is that she was going to record, or she did record, but like somehow this next part was not recorded. She says that he told her that he killed Cassie Hansen. Or yeah, this is what it was. So Dorothy Noga states that he killed Cassie Hansen, but this was before she started recording these conversations, which is why she was so pressed to start recording.
Yeah.
Okay, so she sticks to her plan, and she records hours and hours of their conversations.
And she kept him on the phone for hours.
Yes. And in the parlor, just trying to get him to confess again. Not even by like, there was no police protection or involvement with any of this. She just took it upon herself. Okay.
Yeah.
So this goes on. She's recording everything she's got.
Everything.
And one night after a day of work, Dorothy Noga is leaving the massage parlor, and she's attacked by someone, and they slash her throat.
Oh no.
Yeah. The attacker flees the scene and leaves Dorothy to bleed out, but she doesn't die. Okay. So somehow she doesn't die. And, you know, obviously that's a really traumatic thing to try and recover from. But Dorothy does hypnosis to try and recover memories from her attack. And within hypnosis, she remembers that it was Stuart Knowlton. She recalls him stabbing her and then saying, "I'll teach you not to talk," and then proceeds to cut her neck all the way down after stabbing her. Okay. But Minnesota prohibits hypnosis in the courtroom.
Yeah, and rightfully so.
Yeah, no charges can be pressed with this quote unquote evidence. Okay. But it still happened.
Yeah.
So DNA testing is still super far from what it was these days back in 1981. Even though they had the semen sample from the crime scene, it wasn't enough to nail Knowlton, which like probably in these days, like they can.
These days it is,
yeah. So they could only tell that he had type O blood. So they didn't have his blood. But again, you know, like 37% of the population has type O blood. But what they did do is they got a hair sample from Knowlton and they sent that along with clothing from Cassie's scene to the FBI. And they compared the hairs on her clothes and Knowlton's known hairs. It's not exactly like matching fingerprints. Like it's not a definitive thing. It's not absolute, but they can have the same characteristics. It's not definitive. Like hairs are not so unique, but two hairs can be distinguished under the microscope if they came from two different people. Okay. So in the laboratory, they did get another break on this case. They found an extremely unique hair on Cassie's clothes. Okay. So this guy who's looking at all of it, Al Robillard, he's the head of the hair and fiber unit in the FBI. And when he's talking about this, he says that he has not seen anything like it up to that point and has not seen anything like it since.
What makes a unique hair?
So this person who had this hair has a hair disease called Pili annulati.
Ooh.
Okay. So it's also known as ringed hair or beaded hair or banded hair. Basically, it looks like a raccoon's tail up close.
Oh, okay.
And that's my connection to this whole case is because I have that hair disease.
Do you really?
Yeah. So you can feel like when you run your finger along one of my strands of hair, you can like feel the texture of it.
Whoa. Is it different colored too?
Yeah.
That makes sense because there's a hair stuck to the side of our shower right now that's like darker and lighter in stripes. And I just kept assuming it was one of Ghost's hairs, but I'm like, that looks really long. It's your hair.
Yeah, it's my hair. And we didn't know about this until I was I don't know how old I was, but we were on some vacation or something like that. And I went to get my hair cut. I don't know why I was getting it cut on vacation, but the hairstylist was like, "Oh my God." And she like looks closer at my hair and she's like, "You have beaded hair."
Can I feel a piece of your hair?
Yeah. Let me just pull one out here. I'm trying to just get one.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're feeling
the
it.
hair.
Maybe I feel it with this hand. So you have to start.
Oh yeah, I do feel it a little bit.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a very slight rumble because it goes from it's all in the base of your hair.
Okay.
The follicle. So
interesting.
It's nothing. It's a genetic disease. Alec is shaking his head. It's a genetic disease, and it's not really even to me not a disease because it doesn't affect your like anything else, but it's just your hair.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Ooh, hold up.
Yeah, you can see it. I used to have a microscope when I was a kid, and you can see it under a microscope. I can even pull it up for
I
you.
see it. Yeah, in the light. Ooh,
isn't that cool?
Yeah, that is cool.
Literally,
that's like a good fun fact about you.
Thank you. I'll show you a picture too. It literally looks like a raccoon's tail. Mm-hmm. So here's like an example of it.
Yeah.
When I straightened my hair, you could see it even easier because certain parts, like I don't know if it's the lighter part or the darker part, got fried easier. Mm-hmm. But it goes from light, dark, light, dark, light, dark.
That's cool. I feel like it gives your hair like some like dimension.
Definitely. And in some lights my hair looks red and I know it's not red, but I think that that's part of it. It has so many different shades in it. And so that's why I felt really connected to this story. Like I had something super in common with this guy.
With the killer, the child rapist.
Yes. But that's what made him so unique for this person in the FBI who looks at this stuff every day for his job to be like, this is rare.
Yeah.
So just a little tidbit on this, 80 to 99% of people who have this have obviously the abnormal hair pattern and they have fine hair. My hair is super fine, but I have enough of it so it's not like it looks flat or anything like that. And really it's just like, you're right, an abnormality of the hair.
Yeah.
So this was a significant find for the case. It looks like a raccoon tail. There's a breakdown in the cuticle that causes the hair to separate and then I guess come back together. So yeah, Knowlton and I have the same hair disease. And this gave Robillard no doubt in his mind that it was Knowlton who killed Cassie. And so Knowlton is arrested and Dorothy Noga goes into court to testify against him, and she gives her account of what happened and just basically tells him what Knowlton said before Dorothy's own attack. Knowlton admitted that he was driving around when he needed to use the restroom, so he went into the church to relieve himself when he ran into Cassie.
Like you do, go into a random church at nighttime.
Yep. Yeah, not just random corner store.
Yeah.
So he goes into the church, he runs into Cassie, and he does end up later admitting that he lured her to his car by asking if she wanted to play a game. She started to panic when they got into the parking lot, and that's when the belt came out and he strangled her and did what he did. He disposed of her in the dumpster and took the buckles off of her shoes
as a souvenir. Gross.
And then dumped them in separate locations. And then the head of the housing units, Retman, says that looking back, she knew that Knowlton had a shoe fetish just based off of how he talked about shoes. And basically, this whole banded hair thing convinced the jury that Knowlton committed the murder of Cassie Hansen. It did not take long for them to find him guilty of first-degree murder and second-degree misconduct. So he was sentenced to a life in prison. And now the Hansens, her family, Cassie's family, have founded Save Cassie's Friends to raise awareness for child abduction. And later on, you know, this is very tragic, but I feel like a lot of people really stepped up to help put the pieces of this case together. 23 members of the police department were recognized by the city. It was a super long, grueling, like 18 months of investigating. And then Dorothy Noga, she got the Chiefs Award for merit in 2017.
That's great. She deserves it.
Yeah. And back in 1991, so 10 years after this all happened, the city of St. Paul gave her $50,000 in a settlement, basically just for getting information from Knowlton and also as an apology for not giving her protection and agreeing to that and her taking it upon herself. And it was because they knew that she said she was going to get this information from him, and they didn't do anything, but thank God she did.
Yeah, because she probably they were probably like, no, we're not, like, it's too dangerous, wink. And she's like, I'm gonna do it, and they're like, no, don't do it, wink. And then, she got almost died.
So she recovered. Unfortunately, Cassie Hansen did not, but I think that the forensic science that happened in this case is incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible.
And the way it's progressed, it's so unfortunate that the 6-year-old and her family had to suffer, but it was very cool to see in my research how science was able to put someone at justice and stop him from doing whatever else he could have done after that.
Definitely. And what I'm hearing right now is all the murders Hayley has committed are about to come to light because of her hair.
Surface. Yeah. Yes, I'm coming out as having banded hair.
Yeah. Hope you're listening, MPD.
Right. So, and that, and we had to like submit our fingerprints to Teach for America or some like national things. Like, I can never commit a murder.
God, that ruins all our plans.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll just be podcasters instead.
I guess that's what we got to do.
That's my story.
All right. Well,
and I'm ready.
All right. Thanks, Hayley.
You're welcome. Thanks,
And
Kat.
3, 2, 1. Class dismissed.